Some connections don't fade. They echo, and for Justin Bieber, no matter how much time passed, no matter how many songs he wrote or stages he stood on, that echo always led back to Selena Gomez, even after marrying Hailey Baldwin and building a new chapter. People close to him would say the same thing over and over again. He still had a soft spot for her. It wasn't just a memory, it was emotional residue. A bond that once ran too deep to forget. And now, with Selena engaged to Benny Blanco and stepping into what looks like real happiness, fans are starting to wonder if Justin's finally cracked. Then, boom. Selena drops her long-awaited album. No warnings, no warm-up, just impact. And from the moment it went live, it was like the past got exhumed. Fans started tearing into every lyric like they were searching for buried treasure or buried pain. Line by line, they weren't just hearing songs. They were hearing clues, and guess who kept coming up in those conversations? Justin Bieber. Almost instantly, his Instagram activities started raising alarms. No photos with Hailey, no promotion. Just moody, emotionally loaded captions. One post said, "I've got anger issues too, but I want to change. I don't want to react so much." To anyone else, maybe it's just a late-night thought. But to gallon of fans who've watched this love story unfold over the last decade, that wasn't just a quote. That was a red flag. A confession. A crack in the wall because the timing couldn't be more intense. Selena's album is out. And Justin? He's unraveling post by post. Hailey jumped in, dropping supportive comments on his page like a loyal partner. But the internet? They weren't buying it. Some fans saw her responses as performative. Others said they felt like silent panic. Because let's be honest, when your husband starts posting things like, "I don't want to change for anyone," right after his ex drops an album filled with heartbreak. That's not nothing. That's something. Selena didn't name names. She didn't have to. Her lyrics did the talking, and the pain behind them hit hard. And right now, Justin's IG looks less like a happy husband's and more like a digital diary of someone confronting ghosts he thought were long gone. Selena Gomez isn't just releasing music, she's bearing old wounds. Her new album dropped like a confession. Booth wrapped in melody, and track after track feels like it was written with someone very specific in mind. Fans didn't have to guess for long. One song in particular, "Don't Wanna Cry," shattered the internet. From the very first line, the pain is palpable, left the door wide open for the whole wide world to see you. And you kiss her right in front of me like I'm not even there. It's raw. It's uncomfortable. It's real. And everyone's pointing in one direction. Justin Bieber. The timing. The emotion. The public heartbreak embedded in every note. It's not just speculation anymore. This isn't just another sad ballad. This feels like a wound that never properly closed, bleeding out in real time through Selena's voice. And then comes the chorus. "I don't want to cry now. I don't want to cry now." It's soft, but it cuts deep. Not because it's dramatic, because it's exhausted. It sounds like someone who's finally stopped trying to look strong and has started choosing to let go. But not without remembering. The pain. And then the bridge, the emotional mic drop. "One day you're going to wake up. But all that's left is my pillow and makeup." It's not a plea, it's a warning. It's Selena stepping into her own power and saying, "I gave everything, now I'm done." She never mentions Justin's name, but let's be honest. She doesn't have to. Because every word feels like a window into the past. A love that lived too long in the spotlight and died under the weight of it. The internet exploded again. Fan pages, Reddit threads, YouTube breakdowns, all connecting. The dots. They remembered the photos, the concerts, the red carpets. The moments when Justin and Selena looked like the perfect storm of passion and disaster. And now, listening to Selena's lyrics, people are starting to wonder if the storm ever really passed or if both of them have just been living with the aftermath in silence. Meanwhile, Justin keeps posting, keeps spiraling, keeps avoiding direct references. But the subtext is deafening. One post says he's tired of reacting. Another says he doesn't want to change for anyone. And yet another shows him looking distant, haunted, and maybe, just maybe, heartbroken. Fans aren't just watching this unfold. They're feeling it. And they're asking the question no one wants to say out loud. Is Justin Bieber still in love with Selena Gomez? As Selena's voice pours through speakers around the world, Justin Bieber's silence grows heavier and louder. He hasn't said her name. He hasn't mentioned the album. But the timing of his posts, the tone of his captions, the glassy look in his eyes, it's all there. He's saying something. Just not with words in one photo. He's staring off into the distance. No smile, no caption, just stillness. Another post includes the quote, "I don't want to be who I used to be, but I don't even know who I am now." To some, it's just a celebrity being moody. To Selena fans, it's a cry for help. A digital breadcrumb trail of a man caught between his present and his past. And then, as if perfectly choreographed, Hailey enters the frame. She starts liking Justin's posts, dropping comments, a few heart emojis, a couple of I love yous. On the surface, it looks like support, a wife backing her husband. But fans aren't buying it because this isn't just a couple going through a rough week. This is a man unraveling right after his most iconic ex dropped an album full of heartbreak. Some fans say Hailey's responses feel calculated. Others think she's scrambling, trying to hold on to something slipping through her fingers. And while she's putting on a brave digital front, body language tells a different story. At a recent event, Hailey and Justin were spotted together, but he barely made eye contact. No smiles, no interaction. Just two people standing beside each other, looking worlds apart. This isn't the first time fans have questioned their connection. But with Selena's music pouring salt into old wounds, it suddenly feels more visible than ever. The internet has turned into a battlefield of theories. Some say Justin is emotionally spiraling. Others believe Selena's album reopened everything he tried to bury. And then there are those who swear Justin never truly let her go, that he tried to move on, but never really moved forward. Every lyric she sings, every quote he posts, every interaction with Hailey, it all feels like pieces of the same broken puzzle. And right now, the world's watching, waiting to see if he'll finally speak. But maybe he already has. Just not with the words we expected. This isn't the first time Selena has let her music speak where her lips stayed silent. For years, every album she's released has carried fingerprints of her relationship with Justin, sometimes subtle, sometimes glaring. And fans, loyal as ever, have become expert codebreakers, dissecting lyrics like emotional autopsies. Back in 2013, she dropped Forget Forever. On the surface, it was an upbeat pop track, but just beneath the melody was heartbreak, raw, unfiltered, and impossible to miss. The line, "Once was a time when you loved me so reckless and free," hit like a memory she hadn't asked for. It was the kind of lyric you only write when you've been through something real, something that scorched you and still smolders in the background. Then came The Heart Wants What It Wants in 2014, and everything changed. That wasn't just a breakup song, it was a public unraveling. The music video showed Selena crying alone in a dimly lit room, her voice trembling, her pain naked. She didn't name names, but she didn't have to. You could feel it was about Justin. The moment she described, betrayal, confusion, helpless love, it was like watching someone try to love a storm and survive the thunder. The line, "You got me sipping on your cup of poison," painted a love that wasn't just hard, it was destructive. That song didn't just tell fans she was hurting, it showed them. And they never forgot it. Fast forward to 2019. Justin had just gotten engaged to Hailey Baldwin. And what did Selena do? She released Lose You to Love Me. The timing alone sent the internet into a meltdown, but the lyrics? They were a final breath, a last chapter. A slow exhale after holding her breath for years. I put you high, up in the sky, and now you're not coming down. She wasn't mourning a man. She was mourning the fantasy she'd believed in, the idea that love could survive anything. In an interview afterwards, Selena admitted she couldn't have released the song back when she felt it. It was too painful, too personal. And that pause, that moment of quiet honesty, told the world exactly how deep those wounds went. For fans who've watched her evolution, this latest album isn't just a comeback. It's a continuation of the same emotional thread. It's Selena closing the loop, revisiting the ghost of Selena one final time before stepping fully into a new chapter. But here's the twist. Justin's still reacting, still unraveling, and fans can't help but wonder, if Selena's moved on, why hasn't he? While the world dissected every lyric of Selena's album and every cryptic post Justin shared, all eyes slowly turned to Hailey. In the middle of this emotional storm, caught between a husband showing signs of internal conflict and an ex-girlfriend, releasing what felt like a public farewell, Hailey didn't stay silent. She started commenting on Justin's posts, liking his quotes about anger, growth, and not wanting to change for anyone. On the surface, it looked like support, a wife standing by her man through a tough emotional moment. But the tone, the timing, the content, it all felt off. Some fans praised her, calling her loyal and mature. Others saw something else entirely. To them, it looked like she was trying too hard. Like she was jumping into the comments not to comfort Justin, but to stake her claim. Her comments, rather than softening the storm, stirred it. People started asking uncomfortable questions. Was she genuinely trying to uplift him, or was she panicking that he was slipping emotionally into old territory? Behind the scenes, insiders began whispering that Hailey had seen the shift in Justin long before the public did. His moods, his distance, his emotional absence. And now, with Selena's album lighting up old feelings like a match to dry paper, Hailey's anxiety was becoming harder to mask. Fans noticed it in their public appearances and the stiffness of their body language, the lack of real connection, the way Justin avoided eye contact or seemed checked out even when she was right next to him, and then came the vacation post. A sweet image of Hailey and Justin in Costa Rica. Tropical, calm, intimate. At first glance, it felt like an attempt to reset the narrative, a way to show the world they were fine, still connected, still in love. But again, it wasn't the photo that stirred the conversation. It was the music Justin chose to soundtrack. The post, All My Ghosts, by Lizzie McAlpine. It was haunting. It was nostalgic. And it didn't feel random. The lyrics, I can see it now, the wedding of the year, and when all my ghosts disappear, sent fans into a frenzy. Was Justin calling Hailey his ghost? Was he mourning a wedding that didn't belong to her? Or was it just another quiet moment where his heart wandered back to where it used to be? No one knows for sure. But what's clear is this: Hailey may have married Justin, but she's still living in Selena's shadow. And as Selena reclaims her voice in her piece, Justin seems to be drifting, emotionally conflicted, publicly unraveling, and silently haunted by the girl he couldn't forget. While Justin spirals and Hailey struggles to hold the image together, Selena Gomez is glowing and the world can see it. Her smile is softer, now but stronger. Her presence? Lighter, rooted. And behind that visible shift is one name steadily rising in the headlines alongside hers, Benny Blanco. To many fans, it felt sudden. One day Selena was quiet, low profile, working, healing. And the next she was publicly in love. But to those who've been paying attention, this relationship has been years in the making. Their connection didn't begin in tabloids or red carpets. It began in studios, behind the scenes, among harmonies and hard work. Benny wasn't just another celebrity crush. He was a collaborator, a friend, someone who saw her beyond the flashbulbs and the silence between the music. Their chemistry started quietly back in 2015, when they first collaborated on Same Old Love. At the time, no one suspected anything. It was just another successful producer-artist pairing. But there was a rhythm to their partnership, a kind of ease that didn't go unnoticed. Over the years, they kept linking up on music, each time growing closer. And while Selena's other relationships were exploding across headlines, this one stayed private, protected, and slowly growing under the radar. That privacy may have been what saved it. By July 2023, during Selena's 31st birthday party, whispers started swirling. Photos leaked of her wrapping her arm around Benny, casual, affectionate, but unmistakably intimate. That one shot lit up the internet. Fans started connecting dots, speculating that this wasn't just studio chemistry anymore, it was real life. Warmth. Still, neither of them confirmed anything. Until Selena did what she always does best, kept it simple. Then dropped the truth like a mic. In December 2023, she jumped into a fan account's comment section with one word: facts. That's all it took. The rumors became reality, but what followed was more than just PDA and Instagram posts. It was Selena stepping into a relationship that finally seemed to match her growth. She didn't just look happy. She looked safe, rooted. Soft in the ways women only become when they're not surviving anymore. They're thriving. She called Benny the best thing that's ever happened to her. She said he treated her better than anyone she's ever been with. That wasn't just a compliment. That was a statement, and fans knew exactly who she was indirectly referring to. Justin may have been her great love, but Benny? He's the man who showed her what love could be, when it isn't chaos. And for a woman who spent years healing in the public eye, who wrote songs from heartbreak and cried in front of millions, this relationship isn't just romance. It's redemption. When the news broke that Selena Gomez was officially engaged to Benny Blanco, it felt like the internet collectively froze and then fractured. On one side, fans were cheering. Finally, after years of heartbreak, healing, and headlines, Selena had found someone who felt like peace instead of a project. The engagement wasn't just a romantic announcement. It was a declaration that she was closing a decade-long emotional loop, one that fans had watched play out in public since 2010. But not everyone celebrated. Within hours of the announcement, social media turned into a battlefield. Comments flooded in, some full of love and congratulations, others dripping with disbelief, criticism, and unspoken grief. Because for a certain corner of the internet, the dream of Selena never really died. To them, this engagement wasn't just a new beginning. It was the final nail in the coffin of a fantasy they never wanted to let go of. And so the backlash began. People started dragging Benny, not for anything he did, but simply for not being Justin. They mocked his appearance, calling him not good-looking enough for someone like Selena. Tweets went viral comparing their past photos, their style, even their charisma. The implication was cruel but clear. No one would ever measure up to Justin Bieber. It wasn't just shallow. It was deeply revealing, because what fans were really mourning wasn't Benny. It was the idea of Selena and Justin, two young stars, who had grown up under pressure, burned through every stage of love, and still somehow kept getting drawn back to each other like gravity. It was messy, yes, sometimes toxic, often painful, but it was theirs. And fans, many of whom had grown up alongside them, had attached their own hopes to that love story. So when Selena chose someone new, someone quieter, gentler, less flashy, it didn't fit the narrative they'd spent years building. And when she praised Benny publicly, calling him the best thing that's ever happened to her, the internet split in half. Some fans saw growth, others saw betrayal. And both sides screamed. Benny, to his credit, kept it playful. In one video, he even joked about being ugly, clapping back at the hate with humor. But for Selena, the moment was bittersweet. She had stepped into a love that felt real, grounded, private, and yet it still came with backlash, still came with noise. Because when your love story is born in public, your healing never really gets to stay private. And while she's moved forward, a piece of the internet is still stuck in reverse, holding onto the ruins of Selena like a shrine to what could have been. In the days following Selena's engagement to Benny Blanco, something shifted in Justin Bieber, and fans felt it immediately. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was subtle, eerie, and deeply unsettling. His posts turned vague. His expressions looked hollow. His captions, once full of playful banter or spiritual reflection, now read like confessions trapped between heartbreak and confusion. At first, people thought he was just taking a social media break. But then he posted a seemingly innocent vacation photo with Hailey in Costa Rica, and the whole narrative flipped. The image itself was calm, just the two of them against a tropical backdrop. But what ignited the internet wasn't the photo, it was the song that played. Underneath, All My Ghosts by Lizzie McAlpine, the lyrics hit differently. I can see it now. The wedding of the year, and when all my ghosts disappear. To the untrained ear, it's poetic. To longtime fans of Justin and Selena, it was a gut punch. A whisper of unresolved grief. Was he referencing Selena's engagement, her wedding of the year? Was he calling her a ghost that still haunted him? Or was he trying to convince himself that he could let go? No one knows for sure. But the internet exploded with theories, again. Fans dissected every lyric, every emoji, every beat of that post. They started combing through his recent interviews, his past performances, his body language and public outings with Hailey. And what they found wasn't comforting. He looked distant, disconnected, not angry, not bitter, just tired. There were moments when he seemed present, smiling for the cameras, holding Hailey's hand. But in the quiet frames, the ones not meant for show, something was missing. That spark, that energy, that presence he once wore so easily. Gone. Even Hailey looked uneasy in recent photos. Her smile was tight, her gaze distracted. They weren't fighting. They were fading dot, and for many fans, it all led back to one painful truth. Justin may have moved on from Selena, but he never really healed. Not fully, not honestly, not deeply. Because you can't fake peace. You can't filter heartbreak. And you definitely can't post your way out of pain that still lives in your bones. Some believe he's trying genuinely, that he's doing everything he can to be the man Hailey needs, the husband he promised to become. But others? They see a man haunted. Not by the past, but by everything unresolved within it. And as Selena steps boldly into her future with Benny Blanco, fans can't help but ask the question that's hung in the air for years. Did Justin ever truly let her go? Or has he just learned how to survive without her? One emotionally cryptic post at a time. Long after a relationship ends, people are supposed to move on, heal, rebuild, start over. But for Justin Bieber, that kind of peace has always been out of reach because the world simply refuses to let go of Selena Gomez. Every time he posts, she trends. Every time she releases music, his name floods the comments. And every time he tries to show up publicly with Hailey, even just smiling at an event, someone somewhere is pulling up old clips of him and Selena, comparing laughs, looks, moments, chemistry dot, and it's not just annoying. It's exhausting. Because no marriage can survive being constantly compared to a ghost. Hailey didn't just marry Justin. She married his past, his fame, his fans, and worst of all, his unfinished love story. No matter how many times they've shown up united, arms locked, smiling through the noise, that noise always gets louder. Every photo is picked apart. Every facial expression is analyzed. Every interaction is turned into a meme or a narrative that may not even be real. But perception is power, and online, perception is permanent. Fans don't forget. They don't forgive. They don't let things go when the story still feels unfinished. And that constant microscope isn't just hard on Hailey, it's crushing for Justin too. He's spoken publicly about his mental health struggles. He's opened up about anxiety, depression, emotional fatigue. And while he's never blamed his marriage directly, the timing of his lowest moments has always seemed to trace back to moments when Selena re-enters the public eye, whether through a new song, a viral post, or a headline that opens old wounds. It's like the world keeps pressing on a bruise that never healed. And Hailey? She's tried. She stood beside him, defended him, loved him through it. But even her patience has limits. Because how do you compete with a version of your husband that still lives in someone else's memory? How do you love someone when a piece of them is still stuck in the past and millions of people are cheering for that past to come back? This isn't just a relationship, it's a war against a narrative. A tug of war between healing and history. And no matter how many vacations they take, no matter how many times they post those "we're still strong" photos, it's clear something's unraveling, because when the internet doesn't let you move on, you either start pretending or you start breaking. And Justin Bieber? He's starting to look like someone quietly breaking to understand why the world still can't let go of Selena and Justin. You have to go back all the way to the beginning. It wasn't just a relationship, it was a phenomenon. Two young stars at the peak of their rise, drawn together like magnets, first in whispers, then in headlines, and eventually under every spotlight the industry had to offer. It started in 2010, quiet glances, shy denials. Selena once called Justin her little brother, brushing off rumors. But within a year, that tune changed. In 2011, they walked into the Vanity Fair Oscar party hand in hand, and just like that, Galena was born. Flashes exploded. Fans screamed. Social media lit up like fireworks. It wasn't just love, it was young, famous, cinematic love. And people ate it up, but behind the fairy tale was tension, cracks, and emotional volatility. They were just kids trying to be adults while millions watched. Every date became a headline. Every breakup became a storm. By 2014, things got ugly. Selena reportedly found texts and photos from Kylie Jenner on Justin's phone. Heartbreak turned into scandal. Love turned into betrayal. They broke up, then got back together, then broke up again. Over and over, they repeated the same painful dance, and each time, the public followed, invested, addicted, unable to look away. In 2015, Justin posted a picture with the caption, "Our love is unconditional." Fans went wild. but it didn't last. By 2017, they were seen at church, riding bikes, holding hands like maybe, just maybe, they had one last shot, but that hope shattered by March 2018. The fairy tale was over. Later that year, Justin married Hailey. Quick, sudden, sharp. And for so many fans, it felt like the ending no one asked for. Like a story had been paused mid-sentence and someone else had picked up the pen. But the thing about Galena was, it didn't stay in the past. It lived in their music, their interviews, their public appearances, their quiet silences. Even when they weren't speaking, they were still echoing in each other's lives. That's why the obsession never faded. Why people still post old photos, still share fan edits, still believe, because it wasn't just their story. It became ours, and now, years later, with new partners, new chapters, and new promises, that story still haunts them both. Not because they didn't love each other, but because maybe they loved each other too much and too early to ever really walk away clean. Long before she became Hailey Bieber, she was Hailey Baldwin, a name already loaded with legacy. Born into Hollywood royalty as the daughter of actor Stephen Baldwin and niece of Alec Baldwin, fame wasn't new to her. It was in her blood. The red carpets, the flashing cameras, the whispers of paparazzi. She didn't step into that world. She was born in it, but Hailey wasn't just another celebrity kid riding the family name. She had ambition. From a young age, she carved her own lane in the fashion industry. She wasn't the loudest. She wasn't the most rebellious. She was calculated, polished, graceful, quiet power wrapped in designer confidence. By her late teens, she was landing modeling contracts, runway shows, and high-profile campaigns. And with that success came attention, especially from the men around her. Before Justin, she was linked to Aussie pop star Cody Simpson, a brief romance that caught headlines but didn't last. Then came a short-lived connection with Canadian singer Shawn Mendes. They walked red carpets together, smiled for cameras, but within weeks, it faded. Still, the message was clear. Hailey was moving in circles reserved for stars. And her name started popping up in the same breath as the biggest names in the industry. But it wasn't until Justin Bieber that everything changed. Their relationship didn't erupt like Justin and Selena's. It crept in slowly, first as friendship, then flirtation, then the unthinkable. A wedding. In 2018, Justin married Hailey in a private ceremony that stunned the internet. Fans didn't even know they were back together, and suddenly, they were husband and wife. It was beautiful. It was bold. It was fast. And for Hailey, it meant instant transformation. One day, she was a rising model. The next, she was Mrs. Bieber, placed under the harshest spotlight imaginable. Everything changed overnight. Her followers, her fame, her fanbase, and most of all, her identity. She wasn't just Hailey anymore. She became the woman who took Justin from Selena, the target of internet hatred, the subject of conspiracy theories, the name trending alongside homewrecker, replacement, and second choice. But Hailey never asked for that title. She didn't steal anything. What she did was fall in love and get pulled into a storm that started years before she ever stepped in. And yet, through it all, she stood by Justin. Through breakdowns, public meltdowns, documentaries, and fan wars. She smiled when it hurt, clapped back when it burned. And even in her silence, she's endured a volume of judgment that would break most people. Still, the question lingers beneath every headline. Is she seen or just compared? Because when the world keeps measuring you against a ghost, you start to wonder, will you ever be enough? From the outside, Justin and Hailey Bieber look picture perfect, glowing skin, designer outfits, coordinated appearances, and curated moments meant to assure the world, we're okay. But behind the filters and flashbulbs, a different story is quietly unfolding, one written in body language, silence, and emotional distance that's become harder to hide. In recent months, fans have started noticing a shift. Justin seems tired not just physically, but spiritually. At red carpet events, his smile often feels forced, his posture slouched, his hand holding robotic. Hailey, once so vibrant and animated by his side, now looks more like a publicist managing a brand than a woman in love. It's not always obvious, but in the stillness between the poses, the moments they're not performing, something feels off. And then came the interviews. Justin opening up about his mental health, his battle with anxiety, his feelings. of emptiness, even while being blessed. He never said it was about his marriage, but the timeline told a different story. The peaks of his public breakdowns always seemed to shadow moments when Selena's name returned to the headlines. And each time, Hailey stood by him, loyal, silent, holding the line. But how long can you carry someone who hasn't fully let go of someone else? Insiders have hinted at tension, subtle disagreements, emotional withdrawal, growing distance. They still appear together. They still post loving tributes. But behind those gestures is the weight of a relationship constantly under siege. Not just by fans, but by history. And that history isn't neutral. It's loud, it's poetic. It sings from Spotify charts and Instagram reels. Selena's voice, soft but sharp, continues to echo through Justin's past, and now, possibly, his present. Then there's the infamous moment caught on camera, Justin allegedly slamming a car door in Hailey's face. It went viral instantly. Some said it was a misunderstanding. Others said it was passive-aggressive. But moments like these don't live in isolation. They become proof. Evidence in a trial the internet never stops holding. Despite it all, Hailey keeps showing up through the chaos, the comparisons, the criticism. She posts scripture, quotes about growth, and quiet photos of peace. But peace is hard to believe in when the person beside you still seems haunted, and that's the tragedy. Hiding behind their matching outfits and curated captions, they're trying. Maybe even loving, but they're also unraveling, not loudly, not messily, just quietly. Like two people holding hands at the edge of a cliff, pretending the ground beneath them isn't crumbling. In the messy web of public obsession, fan loyalty, and digital storytelling, one truth has become painfully clear. The internet doesn't love fairly. It romanticizes Selena. It resents Hailey. And somewhere in between, it forgets that both women are human, both hurting, both healing, both navigating a love story that was never fully theirs to control. When Selena sings about her pain, people praise her vulnerability. They call her strong, brave, empowered. When she releases songs that hint at betrayal or heartbreak or trauma, the world applauds her for reclaiming her voice. And to be clear, that praise is earned. She has survived public scrutiny, misogyny, health battles, and emotional chaos, all while keeping a sense of grace that's become rare in the spotlight. But where that grace is rewarded for Selena, it's rarely extended to Hailey. When Hailey speaks, people mock her. When she stands by Justin, they call her delusional. When she says she's hurt, fans say you asked for it. When she tries to defend her marriage, she's accused of being performative, as if being in love with someone who once loved someone else disqualifies her from ever being taken seriously. This double standard has become a weapon used in comment sections, TikToks, YouTube videos, and Twitter threads that don't just compare two women, they pit them against each other. Selena becomes the saint, Hailey becomes the villain, and Justin? He becomes the prize neither woman ever asked to be fighting over. But here's what the public often forgets. Selena moved on. She found someone new. She's engaged. She's glowing. She's healing. Hailey? She's still in the fire. Still waking up next to a man the world doesn't believe she deserves. Still being told she's a rebound. Still being compared to a memory she had no part in creating but is expected to erase. And that comparison doesn't just hurt her. It erodes everything she and Justin are trying to build. Because how do you grow when the world insists on keeping you inside someone else's love story? The truth is, fans aren't just invested in Selena or Hailey. They're invested in drama, in nostalgia, in heartbreak that feels poetic. But real life isn't poetry, it's messy. And no amount of edits, comments, or stan wars can change the fact that both of these women were never enemies. They were simply written into the same story by fate and by fans who refused to turn the page. After a decade of headlines soaked in heartbreak and songs wrapped in grief, something about Selena Gomez feels different now. And so much of that change has a name, Benny Blanco. This relationship isn't loud. It isn't chaotic. It doesn't live in public outbursts, sudden breakups, or cryptic subtweets. It's quiet, steady, unapologetically soft. And for a woman whose most famous love story nearly consumed her, this quiet might be the most radical. Think of all. From the moment they went public, the energy around Selena and Benny shifted the entire conversation. It wasn't about tabloid drama or clout-chasing headlines. It was about comfort, joy, respect. When Selena called Benny the best thing that's ever happened to me, fans didn't just hear a compliment, they heard relief. It was the voice of someone who had finally stopped bleeding. And Benny? He didn't try to overshadow her. He didn't compete with her spotlight. He stood beside it, never above, never behind. When trolls came for him, calling him not good looking enough or questioning his worth, he didn't lash out. He laughed it off, called himself ugly, and moved on. Because when you're secure in love, you don't need to defend it. What made their bond even more special wasn't just the present, it was the past they shared quietly long before love ever bloomed. From producing music together in 2015 to collaborating again years later, Benny was always there, not chasing her, not claiming her, but showing up. And maybe that's what made all the difference. Because love doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it shows up in the form of consistency. He doesn't just treat her well. He sees her. He talks about her like she's a whole person, not a muse, not a prize, not an ex someone couldn't forget. In interviews, he speaks with warmth, never possessiveness. He uplifts her voice, celebrates her independence, respects her healing, and for Selena, that's everything. After years of surviving a love that often left her emotionally bruised, this is the kind of love that feels like balm. Not loud, not wild, just real. This isn't the kind of romance that inspires viral fan wars. It's the kind that builds a home. The kind that doesn't break her, but builds her. And if that makes fewer headlines than a Jelena reunion, so be it. Because for once, Selena Gomez isn't chasing a love story the world wants to see. She's writing her own. And this time, it's not about survival. It's about peace. Selena and Benny's relationship may have brought her peace, but for the internet, it's brought something far more chaotic: division. The moment their romance went public, reactions flooded social media in two extremes. On one side, fans were glowing. Finally. Selena had found someone who didn't break her into songs or leave her in silence. She looked rested, joyful, whole. They watched the sweet Instagram comments, the subtle hand-holding in public, the playful banter between two people who clearly liked each other, not just loved. And for many, it felt like watching someone you've seen cry for too long finally take a deep, steady breath. But then came the other side. The comments that hissed instead of cheered. The fans who said she can do better, not because Benny was unkind, but because he wasn't Justin. For some, no matter how good Benny treats her, no matter how happy Selena seems, he will always be the man who wasn't there first. The Jelena legacy still looms. And even in this new chapter, that ghost refuses to leave. Some fans have even gone as far as attacking Benny's appearance, comparing his looks to Justin's like love is a fashion contest instead of an emotional connection. Others have tried digging into his past, resurfacing old interviews, comments, or awkward moments in an attempt to discredit him. It's not always cruel. Sometimes it's just desperate. A refusal to admit the story they grew up rooting for is no longer the one being written, but Selena is no longer the girl singing about needing someone to fix her. She's not trying to prove her worth in someone else's lyrics. She's not waiting for someone to wake up and realize what they lost. She already did. And she moved forward. What hurts for many fans is the realization that maybe the version of Justin they love doesn't exist anymore, or maybe it never did. And watching Selena choose something simpler, quieter, healthier forces people to reckon with the fact that the love they romanticized for years was never as perfect as they imagined. Still, some fans can't or won't let go. They still post old Jelena edits, still write threads about their timeline, still leave comments on Selena's photos with, "It should have been Justin." But here's the thing, Selena's not writing this chapter for them. She's writing it for herself. And whether it ends in marriage, family, or simply peace, it's hers now. And maybe that's what true healing looks like. Not convincing the world to accept your choice, just finally, quietly choosing it anyway. Most love triangles fade. Eventually, one person chooses, the other moves on, and the world forgets. But this one never disappeared. Because it wasn't just about love, it was about memory, identity, legacy. Selena, Justin, and Hailey weren't just people in a relationship. They became projections of our own unresolved feelings. And now, after more than a decade of rumors, songs, tears, and Instagram battles, all three of them are living with the Weight of what the internet refused to release. For Selena, this chapter feels like a reclamation. She's no longer the girl singing through heartbreak, writing lyrics like bandages. She's a woman in love and in control. But even as she moves forward with Benny, the past doesn't vanish. It lingers in every headline that still mentions Justin's name beside hers. It echoes in every song that fans insist must be about him. Even now, she can't post a photo without someone whispering about Galena, but the difference is she no longer responds. Not because she's bitter, but because she's free. For Justin, the story is messier. He's married, yes, but his posts suggest emotional turbulence, not peace. He says he's trying to grow, trying to change, trying to be still. But his past bleeds through in his lyrics, in his quiet stares, in the way his body seems to flinch when the world brings up Selena. He's no longer the reckless teen in love. He's a man caught between who he was and who he's trying to become. And while Hailey stands beside him, unwavering, you can't help but wonder, is she standing beside all of him? Or just the parts he's willing to show? And then there's Hailey, the quietest one in the storm, but maybe the most bruised. She was never allowed to simply love Justin. She had to defend it, prove it, compete with a memory that had already been crowned iconic. She never got to be the love story, only the next chapter. And no matter how hard she tries, there's always someone waiting to remind her she wasn't the first and, in their eyes, never the favorite. But what none of them owe anyone anymore is explanation. Because if there's one thing this tangled story has shown, it's that public love stories rarely survive private pain. And now the question is no longer who ends up with who. It's who ends up with themselves, whole, healing, and finally unburdened. What if we stopped asking? Who won? Who got the guy? Who got the girl? Who ended up happier? What if just for a moment we paused the noise, the edits, the Stan Wars, and looked at these three people not as characters in a love triangle, but as humans still learning how to live with the weight of a decade-long story but never let them rest? Maybe Selena never fully moved on. Not because she's stuck, but because some love stories never fully leave you. They shape the way you love going forward, what you accept, what you fear, what you crave. And maybe she didn't need closure. Maybe she needed to feel something completely different. And Benny gave her that not as a replacement, but as a reset. Maybe Justin didn't move on either. Not because he wants to go back, but because when you've loved someone so loudly, so publicly, so deeply, there will always be echoes. Maybe he's still haunted not by Selena herself, but by the version of himself he was with her. The boy who wanted to be enough and couldn't be. And now, as a man, he's realizing that healing doesn't mean forgetting. Sometimes healing means learning to carry the past more gently. And maybe Hailey, maybe she knows all of this. Maybe that's why she holds Justin's hand so tightly in public. Not to prove something, but to study something. Because she too was handed a script she never asked to act in. And still she chose to stay. That doesn't make her weak. That makes her resilient. The world wants a conclusion. A winner. A final scene where someone walks away victorious and someone walks away alone. But life doesn't work like that. Sometimes no one wins. Sometimes everyone survives. Wiser, bruised, evolving. Because not all stories need an ending. Some just need release. And maybe that's what this entire saga was about from the start. Not a love triangle, not a feud, but three people trying to heal from the same storm while the world kept replaying the thunder. So instead of asking, who still loves who? Maybe the better question is, who finally learned how to love themselves when no one else was watching?